Hey Jay, Tommy Gibbons here, professor of the course. Welcome to the class. Great to have you. I thought as we get started here in week one, I'd send you a video reply. Gives me a chance to say hello and offer you a little bit of kind of verbal response to what you've written this first week in both forums, which is great, by the way. You got, I think, some thoughtful engagements with the material and with the questions that it raises. First of all, I think I just wanted to resonate with you a little bit about some of the tensions that this emphasis on the political edge of Paul's gospel raises for us. Because, I mean, maybe the most obvious is one that you name, and that is that the kind of particular political manifestation of a lot of Christianity in the United States today just doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem faithful to Jesus. It seems to just be hungry for the wrong kind of power and stuff like that. And I think that can make the idea that Paul's gospel is political just be sort of off-putting. But I'm glad you continued to lean into this because, of course, this particular manifestation of Christianity politically in the U.S. is not the only way to be political, and you point to some other examples in your response. And so part of what we probably want to do in this class is to try to redescribe what the political is according to Paul. And I don't think that it's wrong myself to perceive in Paul's gospel something that opposes the Roman Empire and the way that it is organizing the world that he knows and encouraging people to live. But I guess it's important to me too that we recognize that when it comes to the way the letter actually unfolds, it seems like the primary way that that political edge takes shape, according to Paul in Rome, among these communities that he's writing to, is in the way that they treat one another, the way that they live together, how they share their lives with each other, their goods with each other, the way they share a table with each other. This, for Paul, it seems to me, is the primary sort of theater of the political power of the gospel. It's not primarily the sort of speaking against the government, even an oppressive government like Nero's, or trying to replace that government or something like that at a high level in the Roman Empire. Paul seems to understand that the power of Jesus is manifest, is disturbing, primarily in the way that it affects the social fabric, especially among local communities of people and the way that they are living their lives together. And of course, they're local communities of people that are networked across the known world and serving Jesus together in their different contexts. Is that going to spill over into more direct, like, subversion of the Roman power? Yes, probably. It eventually does, actually, in the history of even the Roman Church specifically. But that in and of itself is sort of not the point. The point is not to get rid of a bad government and replace it with a better one. The point is actually a transformation of the sort of social fabric. And that's where some of the other passages that you've cited, I think, are especially relevant. We are going to get to chapter 13 in this class where Paul does urge a kind of subjection, even to the oppressive imperial authorities in Rome. I don't think he means for the communities he's writing to always obey what those authorities say or to be submissive and to never resist. But he does mean to caution them against thinking that their serving Jesus as Lord means that they're supposed to kind of loudly defy and sort of flaunt some opposition to the Roman government. Instead, it seems like Paul understands that the power of the community to oppose a corrupt rule like that of Rome depends on the quality of their life together, and even depends on a certain kind of understanding that if you rise up violently against a government, you tend to reiterate some of the same problems that you were fighting against. And that's not the sort of transformation of the social fabric that the lordship of Jesus is about. We could say something similar maybe about the Matthew passage that you quoted, where Jesus doesn't take the bait of some of the authorities that would like him to either declare war on Rome by saying that people should withhold taxes, or to say that Rome deserves all the money that they want to take by taxes and we should just submit either. He has a kind of wise way, I think, of responding by saying, we're not going to let the coins that the Roman Empire demands of us be the primary way that we struggle against their rule. We're going to, sure, give them their coins, but we're going to give to God what is God's, which is absolutely everything. And that will eventually have an impact even on the money that is given to the Roman Empire. That sort of leads me to one other thing, and that is that I think the sort of character of Paul's gospel, the peculiar way that it is political, is a little harder perhaps for those of us in our generation to imagine or appreciate, and we can be more confronted by the likes of Taubes and Eliot because we are not very in touch with the law and the prophets that Paul is drawing on, that give us a good sense of the hope of the Messiah, what the Messiah is about. Because what we see there in the law and the prophets is definitely a hope for political change, a certain quality of shared life between people and between peoples on the earth. And that is the reality that Paul says has been unveiled in Jesus. And it's that sort of transformative power that's now at work among the communities in Rome that he's writing, as well as others. So I think our sense of how Paul's gospel, how the life of these communities is political, can grow if we draw it from the likes of Habakkuk. Later on, we're going to be spending time in the Psalms and Isaiah and Deuteronomy. These remain scriptural sources for Paul that shape what it means to serve Jesus as Lord in fulfillment of what the prophets promise as the righteousness of God. Oh yeah, that one other thing here. I appreciate you identifying that for you, justice, in the way that I've translated that Greek phrase, dikaiosune theou, justice of God. In translating as justice, that connotes for you something retributive. And you're right that the justice of God is actually not retributive. You might say it's redistributive. And if righteousness connotes that better for you, then that's great. The key, I think, is that in the prophets, and as Paul uses the term, the justice of God is the transformative presence of God that feeds the quality of people's lives so that they can enjoy an abundance of joy together, a life of sharing, a life of caring for each other rather than living at one another's expense. That's what the justice of God is about, is that sort of transformation in faithfulness to what God has promised. If you want to reply to this video, that's great. If you don't want to, that's no problem. You could just hit the thumbs up icon below it, so at least I know that you got the video and we're able to see it. And looking forward to more conversation ahead.